Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about sales mix. Basically, in our previous video, we assumed the company made one product and one product only. That was relatively simple. Now we're going to say, okay, more realistically, they make multiple products. This obviously complicates things like break-even analysis. We talk about how many units do I have to sell, well, which units, right? So let's talk about that. Alright guys, so here's what's going on here. You gotta figure out what the company's sales mix is. Your sales mix is the relative proportion of sales coming from each product. So if you sell two products, let's say basketballs and soccer balls, you just have to figure out what percentage of your sales come from one versus the other. The next thing you gotta do is use that information to make a weighted average contribution margin. So I know how much I make off product number one for my contribution margin for that one. I gotta weigh that by its sales mix percentage. And then I gotta do the same thing for all my products. Let's look at an example. Here they sell basketballs and soccer balls. They sell a lot more basketballs, 65% of their sales there. Contribution margin is very different. They make $45 on each basketball after variable cost. They make only $25 on each soccer ball. So the weighted average contribution margin per unit is $45 for the basketballs, weighted by their sales mix, 65% or 0.65, plus the $25 for soccer balls, weighted by their sales mix, 35%. So you end up with $38 per unit, which is in between 25 and 45, but it's more toward 45, which should not be surprising given that you sell more basketballs. Alright guys, so if your fixed costs are $380,000, the break-even point would be calculated like so, 10,000 units. Now this brings up a very interesting question. What do we really mean by 10,000 units? We're selling more than one kind of product here. Well, if the question asked you, the answer would be 6,500 basketballs and 3,500 soccer balls. What we're doing is initially solving for some kind of bundle of sales here, some kind of composite unit. And after we solve for that, we can then break it down into how many of each individual unit. Alright guys, if you want to know break-even sales in dollars and not units, here's what you're going to do. You know how we made weighted average contribution margin? Well, now we have to make weighted average contribution margin ratio. So I'm going to make a basketball contribution margin ratio. I'm going to take that $45 contribution margin divided by sales price. We'll say they sell for $75. That is 60%. Do the same thing for soccer balls. I get 33% for soccer balls. I then put it all together. I weight each of those margins by the sales mix. So basketball 60% times 65% plus the margin for soccer balls 33% times 35%. I get 50.55%. I use that number, take fixed costs divided by contribution margin ratio. That gives me break-even sales in dollars, $750,000.